This'll be the last thing we go over tonight. We're probably gonna get shut down. We're gonna get shut down for this one. You guys came here for mind shock. You're gonna get some mind shock. I mean, I actually wasn't aware of this interview until recently, but now that Kill the Bank brought up conspiracy theory, for some reason I thought he knew that after, but now it can't be coincidental that this interview comes out a year after conspiracy theory. Oh, 2 years. It was actually December 99 here. For some reason, I've seen this stated as a 98 interview. But for some... Okay, so this is some kind of tape. The date of the tape is 99. So I think the interview was 98, though. Alright, you guys are in for an absolute mind shock. He actually names some names, believe it or not. He doesn't name all of them, though. Let's see if this works, by the way. We'll know whether YouTube is glitching if it allows me to put the video on the screen. Let me just find it real quick. Alright, I think I got it. You guys ready for the most mind-shocking Mel Gibson interview ever? Son UV Liberty says, Mel should get an Academy Award for Best Body Cam footage ever. Man, that one audio of Mel Gibson cursing out one of his wives, that was crazy, definitely. Oh, I hated that movie, Black Butterfly, Antonio Banderas. Oh, man. Oh, On the Line with Mel Gibson, that was phenomenal. I love that one. I'm an Antonio Banderas fan, but Black Butterfly, oh, I thought that movie was terrible. It was a good setup, though. It's a great setup. Maybe that's why I didn't like it, because the setup was great. Alright, are you guys ready for the biggest, most mind-shocking A-list Hollywood interview, conspiratorial A-lister interview ever? You guys aren't ready. Alright, if the stream cuts out tonight, we know why. Honestly, I don't even remember the movie now, but I think I knew the twist before, and I thought you were supposed to, so that kind of annoyed me when I was like, wait, that's all they got? Okay, so here we go. I'm bringing it up. Hold your horses, Kill the Bank. Hold your horses. I think Sun UV Liberty just fed them, but you gotta hold them. Let me know if you can hear it once the audio comes in. Okay, so this was August 25th, 1998. Let's see if they shut us down right now, because this is gonna be crazy. Can everybody hear it?
What were your options at when you were 18 in terms of what you might do with your life?
Can everybody hear it? I just paused it, but I want to make sure everybody can hear it because I'm not 100% sure. Can everybody hear this? Okay.
Well, I had absolutely no idea, and my options were, get some quick, fast job, probably physical labor, to to earn the bread. And
where were you?
In Australia.
Okay.
I had an opportunity of going to university. I'd finished high school, did average, but passed. Really hated school, and I could have gone into journalism or. The other option that was open to me was sort of auditioning for a drama school,
right?
Which I did. I could tell jokes and stories and make stories up and convince people of things that weren't true.
You were a liar.
Kind of, yeah. A great liar. Yeah. A good liar. Yeah. I'm not as good a liar now as I was then. Yeah. Because it's, the lying thing is something you have to try and overcome, I guess.
Sure.
And I try and put it into a framework where I can call it a profession now, which is...
it's called acting.
Yeah. I can't say that I have a method.
No.
I don't think I do. I mean, there is method.
Mel was doing stuff in the 70s. Let me actually bring it up. So by 99, I mean, he was A-list. He was an A-lister by 99. So let's see here. I think Mad Max was probably his first big one, which is really awesome. That was 79. So Mad Max was 1979. And then that's kind of what got him attention to come over to Hollywood. By the way, some of those Australian action movies are pretty phenomenal. We gotta put some of those on the list. So he did Summer City in 1977 is his first credit. On IMDb, it looks like a supporting role. Exploits of 4 boys who leave Sydney and head out for a weekend of surfing and adventure. Unfortunately, the fun takes a serious turn when they find themselves involved in a murder. Anybody see that one? Oh yeah, Sun UV Liberty of the Patriot, of course. Well, and Braveheart, but yeah. Incorrect, Brian Sazama. You do shock a stopped heart. You want a source on that? I'll bring it up in a second. So, right here from... So this is AED USA. This is defibrillator. They make defibrillators. Once a person... Alright, hold on a second. Sudden cardiac arrest can be reversible if treated immediately. But actually, hold on. Protect it. CPR and defibrillation are 2 life-saving interventions. I read the, I don't remember, when I brought it up yesterday, I read the full definition. Here is... Cochrane is trusted evidence... Type of electric shock to restart the heart in a non-hospitalized person when the heart stops beating. When a person's heart stops beating, it may be necessary to deliver an electrical shock called defibrillation to the person's chest to restart their heart. 2 electrodes are placed on the person's chest to allow the defibrillator to deliver the electrical shock. Historically, the electric current applied to the chest has traveled in one direction between the electrodes. More recently, defibrillators have been designed to send the electrical pulse in one direction and then the reverse direction. This is known as a biphasic wave form. So this is a study, 552 participants, so, I'll post the link right here. So... yeah, before you project your Dunning-Kruger, Brian Sazama, you might want to do a little bit more research. I could keep going. I could bring up a ton of documentation. Obviously, it's not only used when the heart stops beating. I never said that. Obviously it's not going to work a long time after the heart stops, but I never said it would. That would just be straw manning. I mean, if you want to keep going, I can bring up a ton of documentation here, not just studies on when it's used. So, yeah, I mean, a bunch of sources pretty much just state that defibrillation is used during arrhythmia or when the heart has stopped. So, you know, might want to get your own Dunning-Kruger in check, Brian Sazama. Is he still here or did he run away? Okay, so let's go back to this, to looking at Mel Gibson's resume here. Did anybody see Summer City? That sounds interesting. 4 surfers. I think Mel plays one of the surfers named Scallop. I think it's Sandy, Robbie, Boo, and Scallop. Mel Gibson plays Scallop. Has anybody seen Mel Gibson's first movie, Summer City, 1977? His second and third appearance, well, he did the Sullivans TV show in 78, Cop Shop in 79, The Hero, a TV short, and then he got Mad Max 79. He did a couple more TV series, small movie appearances. Gallipoli, 1981, was his other big movie. Peter Weir's movie. That was a big one. Then he did Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, which was huge, 1981. Then he did a bunch more movies, then Mad Max, and then he got really popular. I think he officially went A-list with Lethal Weapon 1, 1987. Then he followed up Tequila Sunrise, 88, Lethal Weapon 2, Bird on a Wire, Air America, Hamlet, Lethal Weapon 3, Forever Young, 1992, Man Without a Face, 1993, which I think that was his directorial debut. Then he did Maverick, 94, which is quite underrated. So now he's been A-list for a while. Then he did Braveheart, 95, one of his biggest movies. And, you know, Academy Award winner now. Fully A-list. He also does Ransom, 1996, Conspiracy Theory 97 with Julia Roberts, another major A-lister. So, I mean, he's at the top of Hollywood here during this interview. He did Lethal Weapon 4, 98, and then Payback, 99, which was a huge movie at the time. And then Patriot was the year after, 2000, then What Women Want, 2000. Those were all huge movies. We Were Soldiers, 2002. M. Night Shyamalan's Signs, 2002. I mean, he kind of went down after that. But yeah, so he's fully established, long-term established A-lister. Mel Gibson here during this interview. So let's continue. Oh, here, Hugh Frazier. You mentioned Summer City. I saw that on its initial release in Sydney. One of the lamest things I've seen in my life, just my opinion. Well, now I really want to see it. Is it one of these so bad it's good movies, or is it just flat out lame? Because some of these, I actually really like bad movies. Like, I'm a fan of, like, the worse the better. If it's just a little bad, that I'm not a fan of. If it's just kind of sort of bad, I'm not interested. If it's really bad, I would like to see it. Oh, Brian Sazama is still here. Okay, so were you really that clueless? You didn't know that Yushaka stopped heart as well? I mean, after brain activity has ceased, obviously shocking the heart will not do anything. But yeah, I mean, come on, 1 minute on Google and you wouldn't have humiliated yourself just there. Okay, so... Seriously, Sphinx Bear? That's blasphemy. When you were younger, you would confuse Mel and Hasselhoff? Oh, man. Okay. So, let's... Okay, people are bringing up Nick Cage. No. No, we are not bringing up Nick Cage. You can bring up Steven Seagal, but do not bring up Nick Cage. So let's continue this interview, man. We gotta continue here. We're gonna be here all night.
But I find that it constantly shifts and changes, and I think that that's a good thing. I'm not sure. I was educated in the way of theater craft and stuff was a very British way of doing things, which meant technique. Yeah, they're all in favor of actually feeling a real emotion and doing that. Yeah. But they just say you're not going to be able to summon that every time, and even if you could summon that every time, you would die young.
Yeah.
So that you have to be able to at least fake it well.
Mm. How do you deal with actors on that way?
Well, you choose the ones who you want to be with for a start. I never make them read or anything. I doubt that you do either.
I don't like it.
I don't understand
I get
that.
embarrassed.
I get embarrassed.
And when they cry in a reading, I get like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, you know.
You want to go and...
You want to leave because you feel you shouldn't be there.
Well, it seems like you're doing something terribly wrong. You feel like some kind of a, I mean, you feel as if you're committing a crime.
Yeah.
And it's kind of slimy. It's kind of prostitution.
Sure.
But that, I think, is even beyond. It's just kind of watching someone go through the act of prostituting themselves. There's something very almost unbearable about it.
Those are interesting comments. I mean, the prostitution of an actor, I mean, we're seeing a lot of Illuminati humiliation ritual here. I mean, let's bring in Craig of Fight the Flat Earth. I mean, these are full-time guys, these anti-Flat Earth grifters. They're humiliating themselves full-time. I mean, actors only engage in humiliation ritual here and there, like wearing dresses or whatever. I actually do have an episode on Illuminati humiliation ritual coming up. Well, that would be known as an anecdotal logical fallacy, Brian Sazama. Just because you didn't do it doesn't mean it's not listed on the actual specification of defibrillators. It doesn't mean there's not actual studies saying that that's what you do. But yeah, as Sun UV Liberty pointed out, yes, a shock in the heart, but not too late. Yes, because obviously after brainwave activity has ceased, that shock to the heart's not going to do anything. But if it's relatively close in time, it can be restarted, obviously. No need to strawman Brian Sazama. I mean, just go look at the Intro to Logical Fallacies video before you start projecting Dunning-Kruger. So, oh yes, Sun UV Liberty, that's a good point. That is an excellent point. He could be subtly referencing what some of them did to get the role as well. I mean, well, we just can't bring Nick Cage into this, because once we start bringing Nick Cage in, I mean, this is gonna be a 5-hour stream, you know? My eyes! Oh man, The Wicker. You guys have all seen The Wicker Man, right? Okay, let's save all of this for the Illuminati humiliation ritual podcast. Let's stay on topic here. But yes, Sun UV Liberty, he could be referencing that as well. And unfortunately, there's so many stories of how people transcended to get A-list. Like John Cena is actually a good example because his first Hollywood run, I think the WWE films, it was The Marine, some of those early movies with John Cena. So I can't stand John Cena in pro wrestling. I would put him as definitely bottom 3 worst main event pro wrestlers of all time, if not number 1 worst. But for some reason, I actually kind of got a kick out of his first movies. But then they didn't do well. And then his second run at Hollywood, where he transcended into the A-list, that's where all the humiliation rituals were. Apparently, there weren't humiliation rituals for his first run that wasn't successful. It wasn't A-list, Hollywood, whatever. So, yeah. Lord said, that's fine. We can do a 5-hour cage stream, but let's save it for that stream. Because we're going over other things here. So, let's continue.
I find it, all the actresses I've spoken to, all without prompting, come up with the same thing of how detestable is the casting process. Not the old casting couch thing, just the thing of not having someone good to read with, you know, and being expected to come in and emote and look sexy and the whole thing in front of a bunch of strangers.
It's not fair.
It's perverse.
Well, it's not fair on them either.
No.
It's asking them to do something, and you don't find out anything from it.
Nothing.
You find out nothing from it. This is the main reason why I really hate it. You can get them in there, and somebody might do just a slap-up job for that day, but that's what they've aimed at that day. You have to be able to figure out whether they're going to be any good for 3 months while you're working with them. And the best way to do that is to get them in the room, sit them down, and it may be uncomfortable, as it always is getting to know someone to begin with, and they think they're going to have to read, so you tell them, well, to begin with, I don't want you to read anything, and they sort of relax a little, and you say, no, I'm not making anybody read, so they don't feel like they're being outcast.
No, that's the big thing, yeah.
And I don't think it tells you anything except the fact that, well, hey, they can read. I was fortunate. I only had to do it one time, ever.
As an actor?
As an actor, when I was starting out on a career. I only had to do it once because I was really bad at it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. D-Town Books, who said, he strikes me as pretty sincere in this. Don't know too much about him and came in late. Yeah, if you notice his facial impressions, at the beginning, it's almost like he's scared to say too much. But on the other hand, you can tell it really bothers him, like the scummy nature of Hollywood. Like, you could tell it bothers him throughout all of this. Like, genuinely. Which is, this is a very curious interview here, because you don't see these, especially in 1998. I mean, can anybody find a genuine 1998 interview with an A-list Hollywood actor? They just regurgitate their classic PR script. There are no interviews like this with A-listers. I mean, can anybody find one? I've never seen one. Hugh Frazier says, Summer City was really bad. I thought of it because you played Mel saying he was a great liar. The only reason I saw it was there was some guys and gals in a big U.S. convertible cruising outside. The guy had a loudhailer and was saying how fabulous the movie was. Such a liar. Maybe he was Mel. So Hugh Frazier might have actually witnessed Mel Gibson in 1977 cruising Australia, not cruising USA, cruising Australia with a loudspeaker saying how awesome the movie was when the movie sucked. But the movie might have been so bad it's good. I don't know. Because you said it was really bad, which piques my interest. If it was only a little bit bad, I probably wouldn't be interested in seeing it. But now that you say it's really bad, my interest is piqued.
I just couldn't do it. What happened was, I went into this place, and it was, the guy said, read this. Can you memorize this in like 10 minutes and come back and do it? And he gave me this script with, I mean, it was like 2 full pages of like complete, like a soliloquy, like a dialogue. Not well written either.
No.
I said, just give me a little hint about who this guy is and why he's saying this stuff. So they gave me like a thumbnail. And I thought, okay. So I went into the next room, and, I tried to comprehend it as best I could. And then I just came back. They turned a video camera on me, and I just sat there and tried to do it. I didn't do it according to the page or anything, but I just started off and improvised the whole thing around it, which is all you could do in 10 minutes, I mean.
And got the job?
Got it, yeah. I was so far away from the technical aspects of reading and doing things within some parameter that is given in audition processes that I thought it was hopeless anyway, so I thought, fuck it, threw it away and was relaxed. And that's the best way to find out whether or not this actor, actress will suit your requirement is to have them relax.
Let's look at this comment from Awesome Town Matt. Didn't Mel Gibson wear a dress in a movie? I don't recall. Oh, What Women Want. Ooh, that's interesting. That was 2000 or 2001. That's interesting. Well, here's another interesting tidbit. Mel Gibson was offered the role of drag queen Vita Boheme, played by Patrick Swayze, in the 1995 movie, to Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. Huh. Yeah, that is kind of weird. Yeah, What Women Want was weird. Huh. Does that meet the standard for humiliation ritual? Did he actually wear a dress, or did he just try on pantyhose? I don't remember. Oh, he did wear, like, a miniskirt. Yeah, I just brought it up. Oh, wow. That does look bad. Hold on, I'm gonna put it on the screen. If it works. Are we about to get shut down now? Oh, wow. Hold on. What does everybody think of this? This is weird. Oh, punishment for this interview? Man. This is kind of... And he's wearing a clown nose? I mean, this definitely would meet the quota for humiliation ritual. Like, if he just was trying on pantyhose as, like, whatever, the movie, they're advertisers or something, and they're marketing to women, so he has to try the products or something. I mean, it's definitely weird. If it wasn't for the clown... What is on his nose? Is that a clown nose? That pushes it over the edge for me. But yeah, even without it, I mean, I don't know. This is kind of messed up. This is kind of messed up. I Am Iron's Cat said there was lots of leather, BDSM, and road warrior. Well, that was an Australian movie. Not that they wouldn't have stuff like that too, but I mean, you know, Hollywood is notorious. I mean, maybe we need to do a podcast on the Australian film industry. Okay, big pine sailing is 50-50. I think we need a poll. Let's do a poll. I mean, these are the real questions here. Yeah, that might have been in the trailer. I don't remember. Lord Zed, that's a good question. Does he know they are humiliating him? He probably just doesn't care and is acting. Like, here's the thing. If he genuinely thought it was a funny bit when he was, if he genuinely thought it was a funny bit when he was reading the script, maybe? I don't know. I mean, usually the guys are wearing a full dress and, like, acting feminine and all that, so this isn't exactly like that. I don't know. It's a fine line. I mean, we would have to know his personal sense of humor, because there's people like, didn't Kevin Hart say he would never wear a dress, and then he was on Saturday Night Live not 1 or 2 years later wearing a dress, humiliating himself? So, I don't know. It is tough. It's almost like we would need to know, we'd need more information to know for sure, but on the surface, it does appear like it would qualify. And maybe they had him do it thinking that he wouldn't think it was it. Because apparently he turned down the role of the drag queen. Well, supposedly he was interested in the role of the drag queen for Tuong Fu. And then he turned it down, so he didn't end up playing the role. But I don't know. Big Pine Sailing. Yes, Kevin Hart clearly placed. Yes, indeed. True Story with Kevin Hart and Wesley Snipes is actually really good. There's more than one Kevin Hart, like the comedian. Richie Rich just got in here. Maybe I need to start. I didn't realize how funny it would be from people entering the chat right now, from people just jumping on the screen right now. Lord Zed says it's clearly sick and satanic, but he didn't write the scene. Well, here's... Okay, hold on. I have a solution to this. When did Mel Gibson become... So, Mel Gibson is Catholic. So, was he always... It seems like he was... Okay, so during his high school years, he was educated by the Congregation of Christian Brothers at St. Leo's Catholic College in Wahroonga, New South Wales. Okay, so... So let's look at Deuteronomy 22:5. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are abomination unto the Lord thy God. So Mel clearly is familiar with that. Oh wow, Kill the Bank. It's said that Kevin Hart died and this one is a clone. That's the rumor anyway. Huh, I actually hadn't heard that one. Although, I mean, there's pretty much a rumor like that for every celebrity. So, okay, the majority of votes say yes, this qualifies as humiliation. So the fact that Mel is a Christian, he must be familiar with Deuteronomy 22:5. In which case, this elevates the threshold for humiliation ritual, because someone who's not familiar with that wouldn't necessarily... Lord Zed, that doesn't work. It's not acting, because... Yeah, but that's a little different. So, okay, let me find that. There are exceptions for not working on Sunday. So, obviously, the whole household should not work. Trying to find the exact verses supporting that. So, Mark 2:23, working is unlawful on the Sabbath. I mean, that's a little different. It's not considered an abomination, right? I mean, just like you could do a lot of... I mean, I don't know. Obviously, there's a little bit of interpretation there. Working on Sunday, I don't believe that's as much of an abomination. So the fact that if it was a non-Christian, not familiar with the Bible, and they just thought it was funny, then that's a little more iffy on Illuminati humiliation ritual. The fact that he must be well aware. also, like, for example, would he ever do a movie with, like, To Wong Fu? That would obviously, the fact that he even it was reported that he was considering that, which is weird, and then he eventually turned it down. I don't know if it was offered or what I mean, you know, I don't think the contract, like, it was just weird. The fact that he would even consider that, that's kind of weird. The other thing is, like, notice the roles that he's done. He's never really done any kind of woke type roles or, like, anti-Bible roles, like, even in just acting. I mean, Thou Shall Not Kill, obviously, that's acting. But there are certain things that would qualify as, you know, stuff like this. Like, yes, it's acting, but still, it's just kind of weird. Wow, Big Pints. I haven't heard With the Quickness since Bernie Mac. With the Quickness. Wow. Big Pine Sailing is bringing out With the Quickness. Kevin Hart signed his name in blood with the quickness, it seems. Was, like, eager to get into his position. Yes, supposedly the way Illuminati Humiliation Ritual works is you can get to a certain level of fame, but you're going to hit a ceiling unless you're willing to do the Illuminati, not just the Illuminati Humiliation Ritual, but also some kind of sacrifice. Like, you gotta pay the piper, so to speak, to get into the absolute upper echelon. Like, if you're not happy to be middling, and middling in Hollywood, like, to be, I don't know, I mean, maybe this was Mel's moment where he did fold to it, and maybe Passion of the Christ was his redemption. What does everybody think of that theory? I mean, I wonder if anybody has asked him about this recently. Wait, what? Oh, Bernie Mac, was that a hit? Okay, well, we're not getting into Bernie Mac. Let's get... I'm going to end the poll. We need to get back to this interview.
And then you can talk about the fucking weather. And you'll know within 15 minutes.
If this is a person you want to work with. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Christopher Walken, first time I ever did a casting session in America.
Yeah.
Terrified me.
Me too.
I mean, fucking hell. I came to meet the guy. They said, oh, he's flying in from God knows where.
Yeah, but he didn't need a plane, right?
Yeah.
It's like...
He didn't need a plane. He came in, he was doing all the kind of Scorsese stuff. And I said, have you had a chance to read the script? And he looked at me and he said, do you like my face? And I went, yes. And he said, well, that's fucking great, because if you don't, get De Niro. Fuck you, I'm out of here. And stood up and walked out. And everyone said, well, that I think was quite a good meeting.
No, he came to see me on a rooftop in New York. I said, hey, can I talk to you? And he said, sure. He floated in, sideways, through a crowd of people. He was wearing black. And it was like one of those old vampire movies where they don't walk, but they glide.
Does anybody think it's weird that not... Well, first of all, this was perfectly synced with I Am Ion's Cat in the chat saying Chris Walken is the Antichrist. But here's the thing. Does anybody else think it's weird not only did he name him, but he described him exactly like this? I mean, this whole interview just took on a creepy vibe. I mean, look at Mel's face here. I mean, that seems like genuine fear and darkness there. And the way he's describing it. And the fact that, I mean, Christopher Walken has done so many creepy movies. I mean, he's got quite a diverse body of work. I'm a fan of Christopher Walken. One of my favorite Christopher Walken roles was in Pool Hall Junkies. Anybody, should I give a little bit of hint of my former life as a pool shark, but possibly paying for an Ivy League education by pool sharking. Yeah, no, this was like, this was the #1 movie among pool sharks. Pool Hall Junkies, if anybody remembers that movie. Walken was suspicious all over the place. Yeah, I mean, wow. I mean, we could definitely do a podcast on Walken. I mean, he is a phenomenal actor, though, but, you know. The fact that Mel is talking about him in this manner, look at Mel's face. I mean, yes, he's a phenomenal actor. Yes, he could be faking it all. But if he's genuine, I mean, that seems to be genuine fear in his eyes. I mean, look in Mel's eyes here. But even in Pool Hall Junkies, even in seemingly innocuous roles, I mean, Walken can just channel this ominous energy that seems unnatural. That's the best way I can describe it. Walken has unnatural energy. Would that be fair? What do you guys think that have seen a lot of Walken movies? Like, regardless of his acting technique, the energy he's channeling, it's like unnatural energy, and it comes through in every single role, even in comedies. Just this unnatural energy. Yeah, not just, his voice, his presence, his mannerisms, his intensity. And this guy's been around forever. I mean, let's see, what is his first movie? 1953? Is this guy really a vampire? 1953? Wow. He's been in everything. He did TV series, 50s, 60s movies. He was in Cleopatra, 70. I guess, yeah, as a kid, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Then, yeah, Deer Hunter. Oh, Annie Hall. Heaven's Gate. Dogs of War. Pennies from Heaven. Does anybody find some of these titles interesting? Last Embrace. Has anybody seen Last Embrace? Some of these titles are just really out there. Brainstorm, The Dead Zone, View to Kill, Witness in the War Zone, Puss in Boots, Homeboy, Communion, King of New York, he was pretty creepy in that as well, Comfort of Strangers, McBain, All American Murder, Mistress, Batman Returns, Skylark, he was Angel in Madonna's 1993 music video Bad Girl. That's got Illuminati written all over it. The 1993 movie Scam, yeah, True Romance, Wayne's World 2, Business Affair, Pulp Fiction, The Addiction, vampire movie. That was a creepy one. Search and Destroy, Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. I think that was one of the most favorite movies of the Trenchcoat Mafia and Columbine. And also a lot of Illuminati occult symbolism in that one. Wild Side, Nick of Time, 1995. That might have actually been the first Walken movie I saw. Possibly. Nah, that's probably The Prophecy. Prophecy was 90. Actually, no. Wait. Yeah, it's Prophecy. He was Detective Vince Magnata in the video. He did the Ripper video game. Did you guys know that? I mean, the selection of this guy's choices. So this was a 96 video game with Christopher Walken and Burgess Meredith. Wow, check out this storyline. Jack's back. In 2040, a vicious serial killer stalks the mean streets of New York, eviscerating his victims and vanishing without a trace, leaving no clues to his or her identity. Only you, as crime reporter Jake Quinlan, can crack the case. There are 4 suspects: Detective Magnota, lead investigators of the case, Dr. Burton, the doctor with the mysterious past, Falconetti, master hacker, and your own girlfriend and fellow reporter Catherine, whose mother may have been the Ripper's first victim. It's up to you to uncover the clues and catch the killer, or else you may be next. Each of the suspects can turn out to be the killer, depending on how you play the game. So in the 90s, they actually had some really cool video games and computer games that were actual, they utilized a lot of actual video with actors, and this was one of them. So this is Christopher Walken and Burgess Meredith in The Ripper, the 1996 Ripper video game set in the year 2040. Man, the creativity was off the charts back in the 90s. What platform was that game? Let me double check here. The Ripper 1996 video game. Take-Two Interactive. It was a PC. It was for Windows and Mac. I kind of want to play it now. It actually looks kind of cool. I'm going to bring up an image of it in a second. I wonder if this is what's going to crash the stream. If I can't put up an image of a Christopher Walken video game. Check this out. Looks like a cool game. It's like an actual video-based video game for computers. I don't remember anything about Brain Scan, but it sounds incredibly familiar. Jenna said, I just watched Devil's Advocate on VHS a couple hours ago. Total reveal. Anybody know what VHS stands for? Bonus points for anybody who can tell me what VHS stands for. 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. You can't look it up. Nobody's got it. It stands for Video Home System, which is kind of awesome. Video Home System. That is awesome that you still watch VHSs. Jenna, that's so cool. Total reveal, yes. Hey, hold on, Jenna. Don't ruin the interview. You heard this interview before? Yes, Sphinx Bear says even the cadence of his speech has a different energy. I mean, look in this man's eyes. He's just a creepy guy. There's something off about him. I don't know what it is. I'm not claiming to know what it is. There's just something really off about Walken. Oh yeah, I have a huge VHS collection. Do any of you guys have an SVHS collection? Or do you know they actually had high definition VHSs? Before all the format went to digital discs, they actually developed high definition VHSs. And there were also SVHSs, super VHSs with DTS sound and increased resolution. It was actually kind of awesome. Sun UV Liberty, whatever happened to DAT? Oh man. Okay, that's another 5-hour podcast. Let's try to focus here. Let's get back to the interview with Mel.
And he was a dancer, you know, so he has he's very, graceful.
Yeah.
And he moved sideways, and he just sat down in the chair next to me, and it kind of frightened me. And he's a very smart guy. And we started talking, and I didn't, say much of anything about reading the script, nothing. I just started talking about the Middle Ages, and he began to talk tortures. And we swapped tortures, because I'd read this book on torture, and I tried to recall some of the most heinous things I'd ever read in this book, and he was like, oh, and he'd try and top it, and my assistant was there, and he left because he couldn't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
The air had turned cold, and then he left, and I wanted to leave, and because I knew that I didn't want to work with him.
Yeah.
And he was getting scary.
Yeah.
And then I turned around, and it was on top of the Peninsula Hotel. I turned around to avoid his steady gaze at one point, and I was looking at a building with the top of the sixes on it, so there was a huge illuminated 666 in red.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. An illuminated 666 talking torture with Christopher Walken. This is what one of the biggest Hollywood movie stars of all time is disclosing in a 1998 interview. So what goes on at Hollywood parties? Like, if this is the kind of stuff people are actually openly sharing, I mean, can you imagine? Now, do you think it's an accidental that he just said illuminated 666? I mean, like, how many levels of coincidence are we? Yeah, I would have, Sun UV Liberty, I would have never been in order to get out. I mean, this is wild stuff. I mean, I think Mel Gibson needs to do an interview with Cat Williams, right? I mean, that would break the internet. Possibly both of them on Joe Rogan, but Joe Rogan's a goof. I mean, I don't know. It'd be cool if they did MINDSHOCK. Or at least, Eddie Bravo's podcast. Mel Gibson and Cat Williams on Eddie Bravo. Now that would break the internet. Jamie Barbaria, remember sitting there back in the day waiting for the VHS to rewind before watching? Well, not only that, but if, having to rewind it before bringing it back, be kind, rewind. None of these youngins will know what that means. Be kind, rewind. Sphinx Bear says, the fact that a lot of celebs talk about this stuff but in a joking way makes it pretty suspicious, yeah. But also notice the way Mel explained it. Like the air, like everything about it. It seems like Mel's being genuine, right? I mean, I know he's a phenomenal actor, possibly the greatest of all time. But there's just something genuine about this interview.
And I went from that to that to that, and he started smiling. Yeah. And I thought, oh no, Chris Walken is the Antichrist,
Yeah. There's certain trends.
I wonder what happened between that cut, because it just cut right there after he said Walken is the Antichrist. Big Pine Sailing, it is, and I've seen it, and Jack Black is a total sellout. But the School of Rock was actually kind of awesome. I don't even remember the rewind machines. I don't remember those, Sphinx Bear. What's up, Ethan W? Yeah, there was a cut there right after Mel said Walken is the Antichrist.
Avoid his steady gaze at one point.
Yeah.
And I was looking at a building with the top of the sixes on it, so there was a huge illuminated 666 in red.
Yeah.
And I went from that to that to that, and he started smiling. Yeah. And I thought, oh no, Chris Walken is the Antichrist,
Is that a nervous laugh? Like, why is he laughing right there? Or is it like a laugh of disbelief? Because Mel looked genuinely creeped out at the beginning of that. Now he's laughing about it. Now watch this cut. Fade out cut. What was said between the cut after he mentioned that Walken was the Antichrist? Like, obviously he's half joking, but, like, what's going on here?
There's certain trends that seem to kind of float together, which is, and one of the questions that keeps coming up is, why are there no decent parts for women? Mm-hmm. Why are women just completely underused in storytelling within this system known as Hollywood?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think the storytelling has always been a kind of a male medium.
Mm-hmm. Always in history?
Always.
Yeah.
From the start.
Uh-huh.
They were the guys who did. I mean, women just think differently to us, and that's a good thing. And there are things about the way they think and about the way they look at things that we cannot possibly understand. In fact, it's far above us, beyond us, to try and like get a hook on it. Because I've tried, and I'm a little wiser because I can kind of allow for it more now because I understand that it exists. But totally.
Yeah, there was definitely stuff said, just because of the nature of this interview, there was definitely a lot said on that cut. I mean, because no doubt the interviewer is like, well, what do you mean Antichrist? I mean, who knows what Mel said after that? Oh, yeah, he's definitely not comfortable. He's like half joking and possibly nervous to even bring that up, but Ethan W. said, Bruce, I tagged you in a YouTube post and an IG about a potential podcast topic. Fairly unique. Take a peek at your notifications. IG? I'm not on IG. Instagram, I do not have. Or wait, or do I? I don't think I have an Instagram. You want me to check the notifications right now? Yeah, I don't see anything on YouTube. I'm on Twitter. Who are you tagging? Uh-oh. Ethan W. says, then who TF have I been sending my SSN to? I don't know, man. I don't know. Oh, Big Pine Sailing, you called it. Gets comfortable, realize what he just said, becomes uncomfortable, possibly. Rodney Thomas says, maybe Robert Wagner is covering for Walken regarding what happened to Natalie Wood. Yeah, definitely needs more examinations. I mean, Hollywood is just so shady. I mean, it's almost like I said, I mean, you know, I lived out there for a little bit, but Ethan W. No, seriously, Ethan W., who have you been sending all that to? Carol says, Mel understands Isaiah 54:17. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Oh, Dave Scott in the house. Dave Scott, you missed a whole lot, my friend. You missed a whole lot. We're looking at this 1998 interview with Mel Gibson talking about Christopher Walken being the Antichrist. Yeah, maybe Sphinx Bear, but also, can you imagine? Oh, Sphinx Bear said maybe the cut in the video was because of that uncomfortability. Maybe he needed a drink of water or something and they cut it for time purposes. Yes, but can you imagine, like, what is being left in the interview? What was cut from this interview? That's my number one question. If this was left in, what was cut?
Understanding it, I will never.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the male of the species is more adept at the telling of a story. That's why you go to any bar. It's not women telling jokes.
Mm-hmm.
It's guys telling jokes.
Right.
Women are notoriously bad joke tellers, most of them. Some of them are good.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have a capacity for it. But I think, just generally, I think men are better at it, at telling stories, and when they tell a story, it has to issue from themselves and their own experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard, if most of the storytellers around are men, to actually have a good story about a woman.
Right.
I think. It's done. It's done pretty well at times.
Even if we go back to, say, the 40s, 50s,
Yeah.
early 60s, just of cinema, forget literature. Although the balance would have been still in the favor of men in
Yeah.
terms of just number of roles and so on.
Uh-huh.
There were far more, I mean, there were some very powerful actresses
Uh-huh.
who were taken incredibly, in terms of box office, were
Right.
taken as seriously as men. And
Like Joan Crawford.
Exactly. Any number of them, actually,
Yeah.
you know?
But she used to display a male point of view. It was
Mm.
very interesting. She was very masculine on screen.
Right.
And is it that women are they're saying the parts aren't good because they're not masculine? I'm never quite sure about that.
If you look at the, you know, the scripts that are floating around right now,
Mm-hmm.
and the movies that are being made, they're woefully short on interesting female parts.
Yes, they
Women
are.
tend to kind of pop up and sort of endorse men, take their clothes off if they're in a good enough shape, and
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
And one of the actresses I spoke to, actually, I came up with what I thought was a pretty smart thing, which was saying, I said, at what point do you see the decline in women's roles? He said, the moment women took their clothes off.
Yeah.
and it became a given,
Yeah.
then seemed to be a lack of respect and a dropping off of interest in other points of interest about women. You know?
There's a producer I know, successful producer. I will not mention names, but his whole opinion about women on film, from beginning to end, is very brief. He says, women on film, either naked or dead. Both is better. And it's like, whoa, whoa. The man has got a spiritual malady for a start. I mean, the scary thing is that I think a lot of people think that. Maybe not to that extreme. There are people, well-meaning people, and you find that the woman and the woman's role in a film becomes some sort of just appendage to the man. And I can see why they're not too fulfilled in doing that.
So, is he talking about Weinstein there? Who's he talking about? Or is he talking about any number of big producers who said preferably women would be both naked and dead on screen? Yeah, I mean, this whole interview is cut up. It would be interesting to, I mean, if anybody, obviously, if there was some kind of master tape, it would be interesting. Because if this was left in, I mean, that's my number one question. If this was left in, what wasn't? Dave Scott watched Running Scared. We spent the first hour talking about Running Scared tonight. The next homework assignment is Lakeview Terrace, and then after that it's The Game with Michael Douglas. Oh wow, I don't even remember that scene in Lethal Weapon, and I've seen all the Lethal Weapons multiple times. I don't remember that scene at all. Let me let's see. Lethal Weapon 1? Man, I can't believe that was 1987. That was so long ago. Lethal Weapon 1 was produced by Richard Donner, who also directed it. Would he call out the producer in his number one hit? Especially, this is right on the end. This is the Lethal Weapon 4 release year, 98. Huh. And Joel Silver. Is he talking about Joel Silver? I mean, that's a big producer. And Joel Silver is also the producer of The Matrix. Make of that what you will. Oh, you're talking about 48 Hours and another 48 Hours? D-Town books? I like the Lethal Weapon ones more, but yeah, they were all good. I liked all those types of movies. Danny Glover did look a lot older than 40, though. Let me check that. You know, Joe Pesci in Lethal Weapon 4 is one of the most underrated performances. That was Joe Pesci and Chris Rock were in Lethal Weapon 4. Was he really only 40? Huh. Let me check. He looked older than 40. So in 1987, so Danny Glover was born in 46. He was 47. Yeah, he looked about 40. He was 47 in Lethal Weapon 1. I Am Iron's Cat's going with Joel Silver for the Naked Dead Women. Joe Pesci in Lethal Weapon 4 is phenomenal. Other than Casino, I think I would rank Pesci's performances Casino, My Cousin Vinny, Lethal Weapon 4, and then Goodfellas. And then the Super. Has anybody seen The Super? That's a hilarious Joe Pesci movie where he's like the landlord of an apartment building. It's hilarious. All right, let's continue here.
You're here, basically, right? You live here. You're part
Most of the time, yeah. Yeah, really. I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I integrated.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's pretty much based on money, the system here.
It is.
Yeah.
The system is completely based on money.
Yeah.
The studio system.
Yeah.
To a degree, I think the way I hook into the system is based on money.
Yeah. I mean, you've managed, you're a rare bird. We still think of you as an actor. But in fact, that's just quite a small part of what you do now, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the part...
I mean, when somebody told me just how many movies you'd produced, I was stunned. I mean, you turn over, don't you?
Quite a few. I mean, we're pretty prolific for a perceived vanity company.
Right.
Which I think a lot of people start film companies and then they don't really do anything with them. But this gets into the act sometimes, not always successfully either.
Yeah.
I mean, we've made some horrible little pictures, but we've made some good ones too.
Yeah.
And so there's a pride in that, and I enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
And
How active are you?
Pretty active.
You've got a good team, haven't you?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people here with good heads on their shoulders, and nobody's immune from making a mistake. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And we make plenty of them. We call them school fees.
Do you?
School fees every time we get ripped off or make a big mistake, or and it costs you.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, it cost you $2 million or $4 million.
So when you get a project that your company's gonna do, do they vary? Are some ones that you just think should be made as a film, or is it pretty much financially based, your judgment?
No, it's not solely financially based. I think that there's an art in marrying the two.
Sure, yeah.
And if you can find that balance and satisfy both requirements, then you are successful within the industry.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're not successful
Yeah.
if you don't meet one of those requirements. You're just successful within this industry.
It's kind of weird. Like, he looks like he's almost having trouble. It's almost like something was said during those cuts, and it changed the tone of the interview. Because he seems completely different here than before some of those cuts. It's like he's intentionally either trying not to say a lot, or something was said that almost like scared him or something. He just seems completely different now than at the beginning of the interview. Son UV Liberty says he's navigating. Like, look how much trouble he is answering basic questions. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, Mel Gibson's a smart guy. And now it's like he's completely different in this part of the interview than the first half of the interview.
So what would you say was the good news about Hollywood right now?
I mean, look how troubled he looks. Like, he's running his hand across the side of... Like, this is not normal for an interview. Like, he just looks so troubled. He did not... Like, he looked a little scared and uncomfortable at the beginning during some of the topics. He looks extremely troubled now. Something must have been said during the cuts. Like, maybe the interviewer told him, like, you can't be saying stuff like that. Like, maybe it was even an outright threat. Yes, it is self-soothing. Why would he need to do... I've never seen Mel Gibson do this in any other interview. I've never seen him do this in any other... I've watched quite a few Mel Gibson interviews. I mean, rubbing your... Obviously, people rub their face or itch their face. I'm not talking about that. Like, he's repeatedly doing it. Was there a threat made during some of those other cuts? Like, look how intense he is. This is no longer relaxed, right? This is not a relaxed Mel Gibson. Do you think... Okay, does everybody think this was some kind of hit piece and the interviewer was sent there to make Mel Gibson comfortable? He's a pretty thoughtful guy, but he doesn't look outright disturbed like he does right now. Okay, oh, maybe his handler entered... No, I think it's this. I'm going to posit this theory. Whoever this interviewer is, I think the mission was... I think they knew Mel Gibson might have been a loose cannon, and they wanted to find out what kind of things he would say. And I think the interviewer... This is just a theory. I'm not claiming this is true or untrue. I'm not claiming anything is true or untrue. What if the interviewer intentionally made Mel really comfortable to see what he would say, and after those things were said, cut, the interviewer outright threatens him, like, you can't be saying this stuff, or this'll happen, or that'll happen. Okay, action, let's resume the interview. What else could cause this quick shift in demeanor? I mean, this is just weird. I mean, I just thought of that right now. Like, they intentionally made him comfortable. Look how uncomfortable he is asking a basic question, answering a basic question. Yeah, Heracles, checking for potential... Like, he's asking him basic questions about his company, his money, this, you know. It's so... There's no reason to be this stressed over a basic question. Like, he looks afraid right now. I mean, maybe other people did enter the room, like... What could cause an A-list Hollywood actor to become this uncomfortable over basic questions about, like, good movies, bad movies, money? I don't know. It's just weird.
Being very actively in the middle of it.
I think...
What's right about it?
The best thing about it is that, you know, I grew up, and I guess you grew up in an industry that happened somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Like, look how long it's taking him to come up with answers now. Like, in the first half of the interview, like, he's shooting quick. Now he's taking super long pauses. It's like he was specifically told, you can't bring up A, you can't bring up B, you can't bring up C. So now when he's trying to give the answers, he's like, well, I can't talk about this, I can't talk about that. So it's taking him so much longer. Because if you notice, the beginning of the interview, like, these aren't little pauses. He just paused for 5 seconds straight right there.
Succumb to the charm of film and filmmaking, and I love it,
Mm-hmm.
and I love telling a story, and I love everything.
Like, he's talking about how much he loves filmmaking. What happened to the smiles? What happened to the, like, what happened to the genuine joy? Like, it's all gone. Like, this is... Oh, you think Sphinx Bear, they asked him to tell us something good about Hollywood. Like, he looks so not happy now compared to the beginning of the interview before all those cuts.
About it.
Mm-hmm.
Even the crappy things about it I kind of like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you like Hollywood and making movies that much, like, why is he so intense and unhappy right now? Talking about how much he loves these things. This doesn't make any sense. It's really weird. Oh, wow. Sun UV Liberty posits, could have been a simple question, says, what do you think, fill in the blank, will think when he sees this interview? Message received. Ethan W. says, this is typical about what happens to me in job interviews when my first 4 answers about the job all tie into conspiracy theories and I realize I'm probably not getting the job. I mean, this is one of the biggest shifts in body language and tone I've ever seen in an interview. Like, he's laughing about Christopher Walken 666. Now all of a sudden he's talking about the joy he gets from making, like, this is his face talking about the joy he gets from every aspect of filmmaking, when he was, jovial about talking about medieval torture, and he was really laid back. There was something must have been said during the cuts in order for him to shift to this.
And it kind of, I guess it gets almost to a question of like kind of a religion. Mecca for filmmakers.
Wow, did everybody see that other cut? There was just another huge cut. As soon as he said religion, major cut. That's a little weird. What was he said? Yes, Herrick. What was he saying about religion that they completely cut out?
Is this industry here?
Look how worried. I mean, I can't. This is just weird. Look how worried he is to just be talking about. Like, now he's like scratching his head nervous. Like, this does not look like a happy guy. Does this look like the same man who was just joking and relaxed at the beginning of the interview? He looks genuine. It's almost like a guy with a gun came into the room. Because, I mean, he's talking about the joy filmmaking brings him, and he doesn't even have a smile on his face. It's almost like a couple of guys the men in black walked into the room behind the interviewer. I mean, he looks genuinely worried here.
It's where there's the biggest pool. It's the watering hole where everyone comes to see, to measure up.
I mean, all this fidgeting, like, he wasn't fidgeting at the beginning of the interview. Now he's fidgeting like crazy, like he's really nervous. Not yet, Sphinx Bear. This was before he had a few major hits after this. He did What Women Want, and he did The Patriot and What Women Want after this. But look how nervous. It's just so weird how he's so nervous after all of this.
To include themselves in the pool.
I mean, does he look happy? He just looks so unhappy. It's almost like the guys with guns walked in and they're like, you're not allowed to leave the interview. Like, we have a major issue with what you just said, but you still have to finish the interview. That's a good question, Awesome Town Matt. Let me double check that. That could be relevant. Oh, wow. It wasn't until, it looks like was it 2010? Hold on, let me. Yeah, 2010. So this was well after. Yeah. But look, it just, this guy does not, it's like he was forced to finish this interview after something was said to him during those cuts.
Their talent and that collective thing.
He can't even string his thoughts together anymore. It's like there's literally people in the room with guns, and he's extremely nervous. Like, he's stuttering and pausing all of it. Like, look how jovial he was at the beginning of the interview versus now.
Like you go to the smorgasbord to feed your need to work and your need to tell stories and your need to express yourself, whatever form it takes.
Is there a collective...
This is one of the weirdest interviews I've ever seen. I mean, he's so nervous here. I mean, he's got all the micro expressions. He's biting his lip. He's fidgeting. Either somebody walked in the room during those cuts, or something was said to him during those cuts.
It's also Somebody once said my problem was I didn't understand the social contract here. I now understand what that means.
Wow. Is that a veiled threat? So didn't understand what the social contract was, and now I do. Wow. Is he trying to tell Mel Gibson something here? Didn't understand what the contract was, now I do. Like, the whole tone of the interview completely changed after that first major cut when Mel mentioned Walken and Illuminati 666, and then notice the next time he didn't mention the name. So he mentioned Walken, and then he didn't mention the name. Yeah, let's see the reaction here after the interviewer says, I didn't understand what the social contract was, now I do. Like, Mel looks genuinely afraid here. Yeah, MK Ultra could, but how could MK Ultra even allow him to say what he said earlier? So I'm not sure this is explained with MK Ultra. It's just too convenient that Mel is so relaxed and happy and laughing, all of a sudden major cut, and it's a completely different Mel. Like, the tone is... he's talking about how joyous he is. Every aspect of filmmaking with zero joy on his face.
Yeah.
Do you understand it?
The social contract?
Yeah.
I think I do.
Wow, do you... Not only that, then he follows up, do you understand? And then Mel says, I think I do. Yeah, it really seems like they're talking about two different things here on purpose. I think there's somebody else in the room now. Wait, on different 666 comment? He just made the comment in this video. Oh, wow. I think, isn't that the poster for the conspiracy theory movie? But that can't be this interview, because this interview is a year... It's after that. It's way after that. It's a whole year later, so maybe... Let me double check the conspiracy theory poster. Yeah, it is the poster for conspiracy theory. But this is over a year after. So, I don't know if this is at Mel's office, so I guess they would have posters of all the movies on all the walls. Yeah, that is funny how everything is blurry except for that. But wow, are you guys paying attention? So the interviewer kind of goes in slow saying, yeah, when I first got to Hollywood, I didn't know what the social contract was, now I do. Do you understand what it is? And Mel he looks very nervous, and he says, I think I do.
Yeah. What is it for you?
The social contract.
It's like he's trying to figure out, like, the veiled threat here. And he's trying to buy more time by repeating the question. Like, this has all telltale signs of coercion going on. This is creepier than I thought. This interview is so much creepier than I remember. I mean, he looks so intimidated and uncomfortable here. Because Mel's a pretty jovial guy. Like, as we saw at the beginning of the interview. Like, he's comfortable, he's jovial. I've never seen an interview like this with him. It's like he doesn't want to say yes, it killed the bank, almost like an investigation rather than an interview. It's almost like the tone completely changed after the whole Walken situation.
You can't.
Oh, wow. Did everybody see? That was another major cut. Let's replay that.
Is there a collective ethos or... somebody once said my problem was I didn't understand the social contract here. I now understand what that means.
Yeah.
Do you understand it?
The social contract?
Yeah.
I think I do.
Yeah. What is it for you?
The social contract.
That was a major cut. Did he say something they didn't like?
You can't get mad.
Mm-hmm.
Did he give a different answer? And they're like, you can't say that. Give another one.
Can't get mad. You can't let it get you, because you have to make a deal with everyone else, and it's almost unspoken that you are going to be fucked over at some point.
What? What? This is the most bizarre interview I have ever seen. This is so weird. This is so weird. Did they tell him to say that? As if, like, do you understand what's going to happen to you now?
By people who you may have done something nice for.
Mm.
And it may happen that by circumstance.
He looks so uncomfortable. It's like he doesn't know what to say.
Or, even very purposefully, that you fuck someone over. But that shouldn't get
Another huge cut there.
in the way of you being able to sit down and have fun with them.
And now he's laughing about it again. It's really weird. What happened during that cut? I wonder if they told him, you're being too serious. Like, use your acting skills to loosen this up.
Am I on the right track?
Wow, that's weird. Why is he asking them if he's on the right track? Yeah, is there seriously a guy in the room with them with a gun? And they're like, oh no, we need to make this fun. He gives that answer and then he asks, am I on the right track? Does this make any sense to anybody? Does this make any sense? No, it almost seems like they forced him to be more jovial. They're like, this is coming off not good enough. Like, it looks like you're super uncomfortable. Try to be more comfortable. So he makes that joke, and then he asks if he's on the right... Why is he asking the interviewer if he's on the right track if the interviewer is asking his opinion about something? Does this make sense to anybody? Why the heck is he asking the interviewer if he's on the right track? It almost seems like that's a part they should have cut out. It's almost like they forgot to cut out that part. Because why is he asking them if he's on the right track?
You can't build
Another huge cut. How many cuts are in this interview?
a resentment about it. You have to still try and love those people.
Yeah.
Because that's the way they're thinking.
This is seriously the most bizarre interview about Hollywood I have ever seen. It's beyond bizarre. Absolutely beyond bizarre.
It ain't personal.
No, it's not personal. They don't really mean to hurt you.
No.
Not really. I don't quite understand. Well, I mean, there's a lot of motivations for why it happens. Yes, many.
I mean, money will make you do stuff as well, won't it? I mean...
Money will make you do stuff as well, won't it? Is it... This is really weird. Money will make you do stuff as well, won't it? While Mel is extremely uncomfortable here. This is really weird. Like, this is such a creepy interview. It's like they forgot to cut out the part where he said, am I on the right track? There's zero reason for him, and it was almost like that was a question for him. It was just really weird. Most of this does seem part interrogation, part threat, and I think at the beginning of the interview, Mel Gibson had no idea it was going to be that, so this interviewer got him super comfortable to see what he would say, and then we had two major cuts, and then either something was said or other people came into the room.
Yes.
One, them, us,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, well, whoever.
If there's many millions riding on a decision, it's hard to be philosophical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very hard. Very.
I've never seen him this nervous. Like he's scratching his hair. I mean, this is so weird. I mean, look how put together he was on the Joe Rogan podcast. I mean, Mel Gibson is extremely well put together.
Very hard to be, you
He's all over the place here.
have to choose what level of integrity you're coming in at.
Wow. You have to choose what level of integrity you're coming in at. This does seem like part interview, part interrogation, part threat. Was this Mel's audition to see like how high in Hollywood he can go? I mean, he's already A-list. He's already up there. Yeah, I don't know. This is weird.
And
Okay.
Because now he's laughing, but it's not the same jovial laughter as before.
and I've often felt it. I've sat there, and I have felt the knife slipped firmly in between my shoulder blades.
What? What? I've sat there and I felt the knife slip firmly between my shoulder blades. Huh.
And tried to have it shoved through the other side through my heart. And I've actually felt the whole thing, and I've gone, ah! Wait till next week, or I'll think you fucking, and you'll resent it for a little while, then you have to let it go. Otherwise, you'll eat yourself alive here.
What? You'll eat yourself alive here? It's almost like he was told what to say. Like they didn't like his initial answers, and now it's almost like he's giving double answers, like what they want mixed in with something else, hoping they don't notice. Is that what it seems to everybody here? Like he's trying to reveal the truth, but they told him he couldn't say certain things. This is weird.
And I think,
like, look how hard he's trying to come up with answers. He's never like this in other interviews. Like, he's very well put together.
it takes that kind of cockroach resilience to survive in this town. I mean,
I want to know what was between all those cuts. I really do.
this is a bizarre place.
This is a bizarre place.
And it doesn't take very long, and I'm sure you've experienced this if you've stayed here for any length of time. You come in.
Another major cut. What is going on here? This is so weird. Yes, Sun UV Liberty. It's almost something like that. Are you one of us or have you hit your ceiling?
You're fresh from the outside. You're off the boat, from the farm, still got shit on your shoes. You're in here. People are charmed by that, that you've still got shit on your shoes. They're charmed by the fresh approach you bring to it, and that's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also stroking the shit out of you, you know, licking you all over. And that's kind of good for you, too.
It's great.
They're licking you all over? Is that metaphorical or not? That's a weird thing to say.
But it doesn't take very long before you realize, or before it gets to you. It's cascading on you all the time. You can't get away from certain attitudes, from certain modes of behavior
From certain modes of behavior. What kind of modes of behavior do you guys think he's talking about? What kind of modes of behavior can you not get away from when you get to Hollywood? He does not look well here. Modes of behavior. It's almost like they told him what he could or couldn't say, so now he has to come up with phrases like modes of behavior. Cause what is that? Yeah, Ethan W., they're probably gonna shut this down real quick. Modes of behavior. Because what is the interviewer going to say? You're not allowed to mention modes of behavior. Like, how can anybody even decipher what modes of behavior means? Because how could the interviewer say, you're not allowed to say modes of behavior? Like, what? This is the weirdest interview I have ever seen.
this town and the industry dictate. And no matter how strong you are, when you come in, off the farm with those convictions and a certain line of attack, no matter how strong you are going to be affected by this place.
No,
it's going to divert you from where you were going.
Sure.
You're going to be diverted.
Okay, this is kind of weird because here's my guess. I think it's almost like they're trying to use Mel to say that everybody should fall in line, right? Because if Mel fell in line, if they can get Mel to fall in line, because he's kind of saying no matter who you are, you come to Hollywood, there's modes of behavior. And then this is, Ethan W. says, the MINDSHOCK podcast will be a Rockfin exclusive podcast here shortly, folks. We're not long for YouTube. I do have a Rockfin, by the way. You could check out the Rockfin. But I didn't know this Q&A would go here to Mel Gibson in this interview. But it's almost like, are they using him almost like as a PSA for everyone must fall in line here? It's so weird. I mean, this is just the most bizarre interview I have ever seen.
When I came
Another huge cut there.
over here, I was in my mid-20s.
right.
I mean, just look how uncomfortable he became from the beginning of the interview. All right, let me double check that alien big cat. I don't believe so. I don't think his name's on the client list, as far as I can tell. Or at least not on the one that was released. Yeah, I don't see him on the released list. Obviously, there's thousands of documents that weren't released. Like, look how worried he is. Does this look like a typical A-list Hollywood actor doing an interview? I mean, just look at the screen right now. Who thinks this looks like a typical A-list Hollywood actor, Academy Award winner, doing an interview? He looks absolutely terrified. Like, who's in the room with a gun there? Who is in the room with a gun?
The first time I really came over here, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions.
Why would he have weird paranoid suspicions? Like, what was told to him about Hollywood when he got over here? He just said he had a bunch of weird paranoid suspicions. Is that common for actors going to Hollywood? Weird paranoid suspicions.
About what the hell was going on, because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
Nobody was bothering to explain all of the things that go on. The modes of behavior. Has anybody seen a more bizarre interview than this? This really is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen.
They don't.
And then the interviewer agrees with him. They don't explain anything. What does the interviewer know? It's almost like the interview is this like... I mean, how does the interviewer know everything about everything?
And
Why is he having so much trouble? It's like, you're not allowed to talk about this, or this. And he's like, well, how else can I say this? But you have to finish the interview. Like, how else can he finish this?
And I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be.
What? What? He formed a lot of opinions about the town and the people in the town. Surely it couldn't be. So, okay, if he was told he couldn't say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, how else can he phrase that? Because if the interviewer told him he's not allowed, it's almost like a game. Like, I don't know. It's like this is a nervous smile now, it looks like.
Because
It looks like he's about to cry, like a crying smile. Because the interviewer is forcing him to finish the interview, but it looks like he was specifically told he couldn't say this long list of things he's not allowed to say, but he's being forced to finish the interview. Does anything else make sense for why this interview is the way that it is?
the whole place can't be like, Weird Town, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them and they tell you don't go into the house on the hill, and it's like that.
What? Does this make any sense? Has anybody ever heard Hollywood being described like this by an A-lister already in Hollywood? This doesn't make any sense.
And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like. Could it?
Why so-and-so is acting like what? Why so-and-so is acting like what? What was cut out of this interview?
And then you find out later on the track that you are exactly on track.
The interviewer does not look happy. Did everybody catch that? The interviewer was not happy. I'm going to rewind it. Listen to the interviewer's He does not sound happy with that Let's replay it. Everybody crank your speakers.
Can't be like, Weird Town, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them.
Now that was neutral. Did everybody pick that up? Now listen to the next one where he says it is like that.
And they tell you don't go into the house on the hill, and it's like that. And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like. Could it? And then you find out later on the track that you are exactly on track with a lot of this stuff.
Did you hear that last He was not happy that Mel just said that.
Not specifically on track, but that...
Wow. Think about that hedge. Like, it's like Mel picked up that the interviewer was unhappy with that so then he had to add not specifically on track. And obviously we have no idea what the track is, because he's not allowed to say what the track is. He's not allowed to say what the modes of behavior are. He was allowed to give this weird parallel to a stranger walking into a bar and everybody looking at him. It's like that was the only thing he could come up with that didn't violate the rules of the interview that were just given. I mean, look how much trouble he's having in this interview. It's like he wants to say what he wants to say, but it's like he was given specific instructions not to mention A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like, there's so many things he's not allowed to mention, and he's doing the best he can.
You could... that some of your worst nightmares were real.
Wow. Okay. That some of your worst nightmares were real. I'm going to repeat that again. He just said, you find out it is like that. Your suspicions were on track. Some of your worst nightmares were real. Now, is this almost like a smile of... like he's giving in and just accepting his fate of whatever's going to happen to him? I mean, this is not a genuine smile. This is like a nervous smile. It's almost like a grimace, right? It's like closer to a grimace than a smile. You find out that your worst nightmares are real. This is Mel Gibson's experience in Hollywood. He just described his experience in Hollywood as you find out your worst nightmares are real. Wow.
At the time, and you think, now this is what I'm...
Another huge cut. Wow. And now he looks even more unhappy after that cut. I don't know what to make of this interview. I really do. Yes, D-Town Books. Hard not to sympathize with him. Seems like he has been gaslit mightily, like the rest of us. It was almost like, because he made The Patriot after this. But then it seems like Passion of the Christ was like his redemption for all of this. Do people think that's true? It's like he was gaslit. He was tried to be brought into all of this. He resisted the best he could. Maybe he resisted just about all of it. Who knows? And maybe he felt guilty for simply not blowing the whistle. And Passion of the Christ was his redemption piece.
I mean by actually starting to swim up or downstream with the rest of the salmon, you know, eventually. If you...
Is everybody paying attention to the analogies he's giving? Swimming downstream or upstream with the rest of the salmon. Did everybody catch? Like, he's trying to give analogies as to not give away the specifics.
Stay here long enough.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. So I'm going to replay that.
That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like, could it? And then you find out later on the track that you are exactly on track with a lot of this stuff. Not specifically on track, but that you...
I still can't get over how it's almost like Mel picked up on the unhappy so then he had to change it not specifically on track, even though nobody knows what on track is, because he's talking about modes of behavior. Like, it's all this, he just shifted. Like, notice how at the beginning of the interview, he was explicitly stating exactly what they were talking about. Oh, it was Walken, and we were talking about torture, and this 666 sign was illuminated. Now, all of a sudden, he's talking about modes of behavior and making analogies. Like, he can no longer talk specifics.
Could, that some of your worst nightmares were real at the time, and you think, Now, this is what I mean by actually starting to swim up or downstream with the rest of the salmon, you know, eventually, if you stay here long enough.
Yeah.
You'll find yourself doing that.
Wow. If you stay here long enough, you'll find yourself doing that. What is that? Your worst nightmares? If you stay here long enough, you'll be like the salmon swimming up or downstream. Wow. Was that an admission by Mel Gibson? Was that is this a confession? He looks so uncomfortable here. Heracles says 100%. I'm going to bring up a poll. Yes, Carol, he seems to be having a crisis of conscience. I'm not convinced he participated in any of this. I think his crisis of conscience might be related to him not blowing the whistle. I just started a poll. How many people think this was his official confession? If you stay here long enough, you'll find yourself doing that. What is that? What, your worst nightmares are real? And you'll find yourself doing that, swimming with the salmon, if you stay here long enough. Wow, so far 71%, 75% think that's a confession. I'm not 100% convinced, but I don't know. Sun UV Liberty said, I've always wondered if Apocalypto was symbolic of his escape from them. That would be interesting. If that was symbolic of the escape and then Passion of the Christ was redemption. Heracles says, acknowledgement, not confession. I'm not sold on confession just because I can't. He's so hard to read here. I don't know. Okay, what about this? Do you think whoever's doing the interviewer wants him to confess so they have something on him? Like okay, the first half of the interview is almost like he can't be controlled. Then something was said or someone entered the room and maybe now they want a confession from him that they can use against him. And he's being incredibly cryptic because he doesn't want to implicate himself? I don't know. Wow, 73% say this is a confession. He just looks extremely uncomfortable. I can't get over how uncomfortable the tone changed after the first 2 cuts. Like, he was giving details, naming names, and then all of a sudden, everything changes, and this is the most cryptic interview I've ever seen. Alright, I'm going to end the poll so we can continue. Most people thought it was a confession.
And you have to...
He's struggling so hard here. I definitely think the interviewer told him, you can't mention this, 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 that, this, or that. So he can't... So all his answers, he has to spend all this extra time thinking because he was just explicitly told he can't mention any of these things.
There's a way of doing it without doing it.
What? There's a way of doing it without doing it. What? What does that mean? Your worst nightmares are real. If you stay here long enough, you'll be swimming with the salmon up or downstream. And there's a way of doing it without doing it. What does that mean? There's a way of doing it without doing it. Does that mean acknowledging it, not directly participating, but not stopping it? Is that what he means, and that's what he's confessing? And that's what he feels bad about, that he didn't actively stop it? That he basically allowed it by not acting against it? I don't know. He kind of almost looks unhappy with himself. Like, what is everybody's read of his face right here? It does not look like he's happy with himself. This does not look like a man who is proud of himself. I mean, this is an Academy Award winner. I mean, this is a guy with an accomplished career. Yeah, this is, pained. I mean, just think about all this guy has accomplished. Yes, regret. I mean, this entire interview, like, everything is written all over his face. Unless this is all some kind of act.
That takes time.
That takes time.
And it takes relaxation.
What? It takes relaxation? Like, to cope? What does that mean? I mean, almost like he's like shifting to become unhinged here. He looks almost unhinged here. Like, he's talking about your worst nightmares being true. You know, you stay here long enough, you do it or whatever. There's a way of doing it without doing it. And then now, relaxation? Where does relaxation come into all of that? Is that just the only way to cope with it? What is he talking about? Does anybody else think he looks kind of unhinged here? I mean, this facial expression just looks unhinged to me. It looks like madness. What does everybody think of his expression here? I mean, we're nearing the end of the interview, but this does not look like a sane man right here. I mean, he was just forced to go through all of this stuff without being too explicitly able to explain it.
Not being uncomfortable about...
Not being uncomfortable. Realizing it for what it is.
Projecting.
Realizing it for what it is and not being uncomfortable with it. Wow. Your worst nightmares are true. If you stay in town long enough, you'll be swimming with the salmon. There's a way of doing it without doing it. I mean, wow. Recognizing it for what it is and not being uncomfortable with it. Wow. Recognizing it for what it is and not being uncomfortable with it. This is the most bizarre interview I've ever seen.
Understanding what it is, once you understand it, well, then you're not afraid of it anymore. You can just walk around it and through it. And...
What? Once you understand it, you're not afraid of it. You can walk around it and through it. See, to me, that seems like that's what he did. He didn't actively participate. He walked around or through it with it going on around him. Does that seem accurate to everybody? I mean, yeah, because that would still leave anybody disturbed. I mean, that's very specific, walking around it and through it, but not technically being it, doing it without doing it. I think that probably deciphered it the most. It's a confession of doing it without doing it and walking around it. Because otherwise, yeah, I mean, again, has anybody ever seen a Hollywood A-lister give an interview like this? Either the first half of the interview where he's relaxed, or the second half, either half of the interview.
And then get on with
Huge cut there.
what you tried to get on with in the first place.
And then get on with what you tried to get on with in the first place. Wow. Wow. What a bizarre interview.
A place like this can humiliate you.
What? A place like this can humiliate... This is getting even more specific. There's 2 major cuts there. There were 2 major cuts. And then now he's saying a place like this can humiliate you.
And it can humiliate you, it can be humbling. I mean, it does rip your life to pieces.
It rips your life to pieces. This is the most... And notice, there's cuts all over the place here. They're cutting every 2 seconds now. At the beginning of the interview, it was like every minute even. Now, even 2 minutes. Now it's every 2 seconds they're chopping this up. Rip your life to pieces? What?
Does it?
If you'll let it.
Yeah.
Did you hear the interviewer? Does it? That was a weird does it. Here his face is almost like grudging acceptance. Like there's nothing he can do. Resignation. Is this a face of resignation? This looks like a face of resignation now. I mean, yeah, he's resigned to it is the way that it is. I don't like the way the interviewer said does it. When he said it rips your life to pieces. Did everybody hear that? And the interviewer almost mockingly says, does it? Like, let's listen to that again.
It can be humbling. I mean, it does rip your life to pieces.
Does it?
Did everybody hear that, does it? Like, there's a tone there. Like, does it? That was so weird. That was so weird.
You'll let it.
Yeah.
And it's always pounding at the walls.
It's always pounding at the walls. And the interviewer says, yeah. What? Can this interview get any more bizarre?
These little guys, these little heathens with no soul downstairs with horns on their head with a battering ram trying to, like, beat your walls in.
Yeah.
What? What? This interview just went off the rails. Heathens with horns. What? Let's play that again. It's almost like Mel is like challenging them now. Did anybody get that? It's like Mel got a little pissed off that they forced him to, and it's like Mel got pissed off and he's retaliating with that comment. Look at his face. It's almost like he's daring the interviewer to do something about it. Right? Look at his face. It's like, what are you going to do about what I just said? It's like he got sick of being told what to do. Look at his face. He had a complete change of tone there. I'm going to replay that last part.
Through it. And then get on with what you tried to get on with in the first place. A place like this can humiliate you. And it can humiliate you, it can be humbling. I mean, it does rip your life to pieces.
Does it?
If you'll let it.
Yeah.
And it's always pounding at the walls.
Yeah.
These little guys, these little heathens with no soul downstairs with horns on their head.
These little heathens with no soul and horns on their head. Look at it. Mel's face is now challenging. It's like he finally got some life into him. He doesn't look resigned. What happened after those last 4 cuts? Yeah, it's defiance. It's like something else happened in those cuts and Mel got pissed off. It looks like they said something and he got really pissed off. Because now his tone is completely different than through the whole middle of the interview. The beginning of the interview, he's happy, relaxed, dropping names and details. Major cuts, something happened, possibly threats. He's agitated, he's scared, and now there was a whole bunch more cuts. And it's like when he's talking about him being humiliated, it's, life ripped apart. Maybe they threatened him further, and he got really pissed off. Because look at his face now. It's like he's challenging him to do something about what he said.
The battering ram trying to, beat your walls in.
Yeah.
But that's your own devils,
Yeah. I mean, as a matter of interest, do you
Another huge cut.
think it's easier because you're an outsider who came in?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because it was glaring to me because I was an outsider who came in.
That almost looks like it was taken from a different part of the interview. That looks like it was something they were talking about earlier.
But who isn't an outsider coming into this?
Our tape's coming to an end, so I just want to ask you a couple of stupid questions. Just really quick off the top of your head. Give me 5 movies that you like. Not the best in the world, just...
5 movies I like. I hate this question. I
Huge cut. I wonder what was said there.
can never answer it.
Okay.
To do it in the time allotted.
Okay.
Wow, it's like he doesn't want to have anything to do with that guy. He didn't even try to answer the question.
Thanks, Mel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that a nervous laugh of, oh, it's finally over? I think he got defiant at the end. He wouldn't even answer his question. It's like he wants nothing more to do with this guy. So, wow, was that a crazy interview or what? This was another visit to MINDSHOCK land. Gonna call it a night now before we get shut down. Like last night. Hope everybody found another edition of the MINDSHOCK podcast interesting and informative. If you want to help support the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.